Hey, this is Kyle Crawford from Strong Dads. Strong Dads podcast would love to thank the Crimers Beer House for coming alongside of us. The Crimers Beer House was started in 1982 by the Crimer family, and since that time, they have definitely become a Cincinnati favorite. So if you're looking for an incredible meal in an incredible setting, definitely go down to Route 128 and check out the Crimers Beer House. All right, hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to Strong Dads here with Merle. You know, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and I wanted.
Was it ours?
It was not ours. Well, I did listen to that, but I, you know, the guys had like cool names for themselves, like the King of the Mic. You know, I'm like, we gotta come up with something. We gotta come up with something better.
Oh, man,
hey, welcome back to Strong Dads. Here's Merle. Like, we gotta have a good intro here, Merle.
This is.
We gotta have something good.
Trust
like,
me, I've got some names for you. I really do have some names.
Unbelievable.
I think if I actually put those names out, we would be quickly canceled. Right,
I think all the women that listen to our show would be done. All the men would laugh, and they would probably tune in back. We might be onto something.
Well, I'll tell you what. You think about what little pet name you would like,
right.
and I'll consider it too, and we'll go from there.
I'm gonna seek Linda for your name that I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna ask her what I should call you.
My brain's running with all kinds of stuff right now, but I'm just not going to go there.
Okay.
All right, be quiet. We got work to do.
That's right.
How you doing anyway?
I'm good. I just got off work. I got 3 pots of coffee in me. I'm jacked up.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. We're going to have a guest today, and I'm going to get more into our guest here in a second when we're done having fun here. But when Kyle, when you come in after sleeping all night, you're pretty pathetic. I mean, your eyes are just all shot. But when you come in straight off work and you've just had your pot of coffee from driving from Dayton, Ohio, all the way out here to Indiana, you are on fire.
I know. I'm ready. I think my body adjusted to the lack of sleep, and it's the norm now. So when it's abnormal, that's when I'm grumpy.
The only thing is though you can't be held responsible for anything that you say, right?
Tells you anything.
All right, let's get to the business here.
Yep.
So we want to welcome today. We have a guest in the house, and our guest is a man who has been. He's got a little history. And so we're going to talk about that history, but we're also going to try to delve in deeper to the idea of what his history is about and what maybe we can impart to other strong dads or just men out there who are listening. So I've known you for a couple of years now, worked with you in the counseling realm. And now you are, I would say, a fairly regular attender of our Saturday morning Strong Dads workout, which Kyle does not even know what that is. He's never attended that. But no, we'll get back to the task here. But married 2 times.
Correct.
Divorced 2 times.
Correct.
3 children from the first marriage. Yep. Okay? And so what we're going to talk about today is really about divorce and being a single dad. And we brought in our special guest, Russell Brown. Russell, thanks for joining us, because Russell and I have had an opportunity to talk quite a bit about this subject. And, you know, I can talk about this subject from a counseling perspective, just from training and people I've sat with, but Russell brings a whole different picture because of the firsthand experience and a very humble firsthand picture. And I think that's been something that I have grabbed onto as a guy working with him, and just feel like, you know, after he and I have talked, man, you have a lot of wisdom that you have imparted onto yourself, and now that we could really help a lot of guys with. So I just want to thank you for joining us.
No, I appreciate you having me, and hopefully it can help somebody else.
Yeah. So that would definitely be the goal here, that we can reach out and get some help to other guys. Let's thank a few sponsors, and then let's get right into the meat.
I like it.
No, I'm not calling you meat. That's meathead.
That's a good one. Anyways, Merle, Strong Dads, we would love to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions for coming alongside of us. Definitely a premier garden center. Got a chance to go down there for Mother's Day. Got my mom a flower from Casey's Outdoor Solutions.
Look at you. You're like all proud of yourself. Like, I'm a pretty great guy.
And when I say I bought it, I mean Jenny bought it. She went down there. So, go down there for all your outdoor needs. Check them out for sure.
All right, very good. Also, would like to thank Crimers Beer House for being a supporter of the Strong Dads podcast. Crimers Beer House is just a fantastic a restaurant, bar kind of setting, incredible food, kind of a little German cuisine there. But really just a great place. Mark Kreimer is the owner, loves what we do here, and we love what he does there. So we want to thank Kreimer's Beer House for supporting rock solid families and strong dads. I didn't do it. No, he's a two-way sponsor there.
All right, that's good. That's good.
All right. Let's get to the work. All right. So Russell, I gave a little background on kind of how you and I met, and it was really through the counseling realm.
Yes.
But since then, we've kind of gone past just the counseling, and now you and I talk pretty regularly, and a lot of it's just about fun, day-to-day stuff. But initially, it was pretty serious stuff.
Yeah, it was.
So give us a background on your story, and let's just try to get people a picture of who you are and where you are.
Yeah, so, man, I, was first married back in 2001, and met my wife at college, at a Bible college that we were both attending. And then from there, just started life together, and was in the ministry for a number of years. And in that 16 years of marriage, we had 3 amazing kids, and then we just had, life happened, and we decided to kind of part ways in our marriage. But even through all that, our main goal, once we worked through some stuff, was just to put our kids first and to try to keep kids, above anything. And so as we went through our divorce, it was difficult for both of us, but we took the high road and the high water or whatever, and just, like I said, put the kids above it so they didn't hear any of it, any of the problems and whatnot, and just committed to being friends and co-parenting and just trying to own and rock that. So
yeah. So let me get it straight. So 16 years, right? 3 kids. You were in a Bible college. You were actually working in ministry.
Correct.
Right. So we know how ministry works, right? Like, well, you're a minister. Ministers aren't allowed to get divorced, right? Or they're supposed to be above that or whatever. Without getting into any of I'll let you determine the level of depth that we go to here. I mean, what caused the breakdown? 16 years. I mean, usually people, man, you get after 10 years or so, you should be good. What happened?
Yeah, I mean, I can only speak from my side of it. But from my side, I think we moved up here and left the church world, went to the corporate world, and I know I got focused in heavily on work. I think I lost my vision for my family, for myself, and just kind of got caught up in the day-to-day living. I was working out a lot, working long hours, and I think a lot of it was just like losing focus. And next thing I know, my world that I knew was kind of just changing and kind of crumbling below my feet, and so changes then started to happen at that point that I had to face and to
well, what was it? Kind of an all of a sudden shock, like all of a sudden she wanted a divorce, or could you see it drifting away and you just really weren't attending to it?
I don't know that I want to share that.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but then you find yourself after 16 years, you are at a crossroads of this is not probably going to work out. Right. And so you divorce, you have the 3 kids together,
right.
You work very hard to keep the kids sort of out of your messy drama,
right.
And still take care of the kids. Then, you're starting to try to find yourself again, right?
Right.
So tell me what happens on the rebound of a divorce with a single guy.
When you go through a divorce in general, you tend to you tend to isolate yourself. I mean, when you're going through that, there's definitely shame from a male perspective, I feel, and then I can only speak from my side. Pulled myself away, and then I knew for me, like, I needed to get plugged into church, and I needed to find a community, and so that's when I started kind of searching for community and for church. And I know I shared with you that, joined a small group, and the very first small group I hit up, we sat around outside and cracked a couple beers, and then everybody started bashing their ex-wife. And I instantly was like, this is this is not what I want. You join a community and a small group for healing and for, to figure
accountability
out.
and guidance. And absolutely.
You know, and so for me, it was, I wanted to find that healing. I wanted to find that peace, and I knew that environment wasn't going to be good for it, and so.
But it speaks to the idea that even in a Christian world, there's pain, there's hurt, there's divorce, there's all these things. So it doesn't safeguard you from those things necessarily happening. It can still happen. But even in that world, that speaks to kind of the leadership of the group. I have no idea what the group was. I don't know any of that. But I know like a lot of times we all get together with a common issue or problem. And we really don't take the time to think about a right way, a proper way to go through it. We just kind of use it as a rehash session. And here, that's happening within a Christian group. Right. And we talk about all the time, one of the worst people you want to get advice from is somebody who tells you what you want to hear. Right? Like, oh yeah, she's a what, and blah, blah, blah. And the next thing you know, you got 6, 7, 8 guys around.
No, absolutely.
And you heard that. So when you started hearing that, what was going on in your head?
For me, I just wanted to kind of get away from it. I mean, it wasn't even, I don't even know how to explain it. I mean, it just didn't feel good. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel like Christ. And, and so it just didn't feel like the path that I felt like I wanted to take.
But I also think it feeds right into what you were saying about, through the divorce, you and your ex-wife had decided you're going to take the high road in that, right? And then to actually have a whole separate part of that where you are seeking, what you hope to be wisdom and accountability with other guys, and you see that that's not fitting in, that doesn't jive with the idea of taking the high road, because sitting around and bashing your ex-wives isn't taking the high road. You're just feeding right into that, because that's going to trickle into different conversations, and then that's going to trickle into a conversation where maybe your kids hear that, and
exactly.
that the whole idea of taking the high road kind of gets thrown out to the wayside.
Right. Well, I mean, that's just it. I mean, their mother is their mother, and she loves the mess out of them, and it does absolutely no good for me to air my issues or grievances with my kids or let my kids be a part of that, because then I'm tarnishing the view of their mother, and who is of the most importance to them, and so that's been from the very get-go that, we weren't going to bash each other, we weren't going to, again, the kids know only what the kids know, and that's that mom and dad decided to be friends, and that's exactly what, the path that we chose to take, and that's the path that we're taking today.
Yeah. I think there's an interesting point here, too, in that not only do you make a decision to not bash your ex-wife, their mom, to the kids, but it really doesn't do you any good to bash her anywhere.
Correct.
Because when you continue to say, well, I'm not going to do it around the kids, but when I get around my buddies, I'm going to go ahead and I'll let it rip however I need to. What that does is it continues to fertilize and water a seed of resentment, of hate, of all these things. So it's kind of like, you just close the door to this side for the kids, but you still let it grow in you.
Well, I think you have a crossroads to take at that point in life. And, I've come to realize this. I've since got involved with another divorce care group that has been amazing and very nurturing. But, I mean, you have that road to take of either looking to yourself to make a change and to go that route, or to throw the blame onto everybody else. Sure. And I know, like, just in general in life, if you hear somebody not owning their aspect of it, like it's just kind of a red flag in general. And so, I mean, you have to kind of take a step back and look at yourself and figure your part out. And, everything bad that happens in life, you can sit back and point blame to somebody else and say, well, it's not your fault, but there's no growth in that, and that's just not a healthy thing. Yeah. And I also want my kids to be a part of that, and you asked about, like, my upbringing and whatnot. I mean, sports was a huge part of my upbringing. My dad and my mom the same, of like, you fell down, you get yourself up, you dust yourself off, and that's really what it comes down to, is like, you fall down, what did you learn? Get back up, all right, now try again. You know? And so.
Can I even tell you too, like, these are even, when you sit around with the campfire with these guys and they all go into the bashing mode, in their mind, they all consider themselves real men, tough guys.
Right.
And that's part of the culture that has allowed that. A real man, in a Christian perspective, is one who does not sit around and express himself that way. A real man owns it. And man, owning it really kind of stinks at first, But once you do, it puts the control back in your hands. Okay,
And it's a game changer.
It's
a game
completely,
changer.
completely, because otherwise, like you said, you're waiting for the rest of the world to change to accommodate you, and you have no control over that.
Right.
Okay, so but I want to move on
Okay.
because that was the first marriage.
Yeah.
All right.
Mistakes were made.
Right. So that was the first marriage. But then I don't even know the time frame. But then you met another lady.
Right.
And I'm going to say the time frame was relatively short. I don't know. You can explain that. But then you got married again.
Correct.
Okay. So give us some, because I can see that, and our listeners and viewers out here, our strong dads, can be like, okay, so what happened here? Give us some background on.
Yeah, it was another group, and this was a group leader that I had met, and so we started hanging out. And so, like I said, as I was trying to find community, this was a community group leader that I had met, and we started hanging out. And I didn't allow myself enough time to heal. I wasn't taking probably the right avenues of seeking, healing per se, thinking that the small group would handle that aspect. And so. I was definitely in a very vulnerable place, and I think I just allowed some stuff to happen because I was afraid. I mean, being married for 16 years, leaving, going off on your own, it's scary. You know? I mean, you have the life that you knew and know, and that was definitely a hard thing. Was like just mourning the loss of my family, and so. I didn't know how I was going to pull it off. I didn't know how I was going to do it, and then somebody came along that was, saying that they were going to do it with me and all that.
Provided comfort.
Correct.
That you hadn't had, companionship.
Yeah.
The idea that a lot of us as men think, we're tough and we can handle things. A lot of us as men have never actually fended for ourselves by ourselves.
Right.
Whether we lived with our own mom and dad, and then we got married, and so we always kind of had a nest of some sort.
Sure.
And we discount the amount of security that provides.
Oh, yeah.
And then when all of a sudden you're without that, everything from just daily companionship to sexual relationships to just money and how we're, all these things come in, and if you have a weak spot, it definitely finds it, doesn't it?
Right, it does.
Yeah.
So through that, so after the first divorce, just a point of reference for all of our listeners, how old are your kids at this point? So you said you were married for 16 years.
Right. So, good gracious. So I think Eli was probably 6 or 7. Natalie was 11. Ish, and then Noah was then probably 14 or so.
Okay.
At that time.
So it still had an idea of everything that was going on, correct?
Yeah. Oh
Okay.
yeah.
And obviously, their world is changing as along with right along with you. Your world changing.
Yeah.
Too.
I mean, we were working out our parenting schedule.
Sure.
I mean, it's that first year of divorce. I think is the hardest year. I mean, because you lay out what the plan is going to be for co-parenting and for your schedule. Sure. But kids are getting adjusted. Kids are not understanding everything. You're trying to cope with having your kids and someone home all the time to not, and then letting your kids go. And then I know it was hard, for my first wife. Just dealing with that separation as well.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
So I mean, it was that first year was very bumpy, and I know rushing into a second relationship didn't make it any easier.
So you had said, I didn't let myself heal properly. What does healing look like to a guy who's gone through these situations? I mean, I want guys who are out here that are or have gone through. More about the healing than we do.
I think that's debatable.
What I'm saying is you've experienced the wound more, so you know more about wound care.
Well, I think there's a false sense of healing out there that you have to heal, and healing looks like nothing ever happened. Yeah. I think the more I'm in it, the more I realize you don't fully heal. You're always kind of broken. There's always the scars are there. I know in Strong Dads we talked about scars, and so you've got to allow the wound to heal so you know how to cope when something presses against that, right? And how to communicate and talk through it. So I think those tension spots and those hard spots of what happened, for instance, going from one relationship to the other, I can take a step back now and know that like the pendulum swung and I grabbed the first thing that was farthest away, and so like personality
In terms of personality that you went to.
Yeah, and so I mean literally if I listed it, I'm not going to, but if I listed personality traits out, I think that there would be a drastic difference between the two, which is not a good thing, right? I mean, that's you trying to like get away from that pain, I think, and go the farthest way, So I think the healing aspect is it's being willing to dive in, look at yourself, and then also just take a step back and like, who do I want to be, and what do I want that to look like? What's my vision, my plan, my purpose? And so I know like through my divorce care was really good. So after my second marriage, I jumped into divorce care. We went through a really bad 80s videos version. But we had a small little subset of group that went off on our own afterwards, and we started talking about like non-negotiables and like what our vision and plan is for like if we do bring somebody into our life, like what's the benchmark, like what do they have to have, like what are those non-negotiables that make somebody like willing to fit in. And I know like dating in your 20s, and I was married very young, but dating in your 20s is very simple. It's like, hey, you look cute, and I'm cute, so let's get married, But when you're 39 with 3 kids and an ex-wife, and and we have a great co-parenting relationship, and like I get along with her now husband. My kids are plugged into a school, and so like all of a sudden that algorithm gets complicated. You have to.
A lot of moving parts.
Right.
Yeah. So, what you use the word non-negotiables. I always use the word absolutes.
I like that.
So because we live in a culture of grayness. Like, well, I can kind of do this, I can kind of do that. I don't want to totally cut myself off from this, and it's really difficult for us to say, well, I absolutely in my life won't do this or will do this. Like I'm going to draw a hard line and live by that line. We kind of like to have our foot in every door we can. Yeah. And so what are some of the non-negotiables, the absolutes that for you that you've come to it, and you've come to them because they're the right thing for you?
Right. So, I mean, I think it's like the 4 pillars of life in some regard, but there's some caveats in there. But like Christ and being a Christian and Christ follower first is the number one thing, right? And it's not like somebody that's like, well, I'm a Christian. All right, when'd you go last, church? And it's like Christmas 3 years ago, right? Like there's a lot of that kind of out there, but somebody that's active and involved in church, because I'm active and involved in church, and like I want somebody to be a part of that. And obviously there's a lot of core tenets in being a Christian that kind of build off some of the other things.
Gives you some common foundation to work off of, just both of you saying we're Christian.
And then, I made kind of a joke, I just want to make sure that they're not a perfect Christian, and like, so as I wrote mine out, like that was my joke. The other big core tenet was just family. Like they have to be able to be comfortable that my kid's mom, is a part of my life. Like she's always going to be a part of my life, and I want to be able to go to, a choir or a cappella on Friday, and I'm likely going to sit, in that same general area, and when we go to kid events and whatnot, like I don't want my kids to have to choose, do I sit with mom and do I sit with dad, and like that's just not fair for them. And so like that, being comfortable in that environment and that co-parenting environment, being comfortable with being a stepmother and not being like my kid's mom. My kids have a mom, they don't need another mom. Yeah. So I think it's like just learning that dynamic and like diving into Ron Deal and some of the stuff that he's done with the blended family is very good. And then I added in a couple other things that are just important to me, like health and wellness. Like, if I don't have somebody there with me, then I'm not going to do a good job. Yeah. So like that's important for me. And they kind of trickle down from there. I think, and I've come to learn, and maybe this is still some wounds, but. I don't know. It sounds weird, but like making sure that this person is like a mother. They have they understand parenting, because I think it's kind of hard. And I know that there's always exceptions to the rules out there, but it's hard for someone to understand being a mother and being a parent that hasn't had that experience. Right. And then as well, like they're just comfortable with their family. I think there's like it gets kind of gray after that. Of like this would be really nice to have. Like I'd love, and I'll give an amazing shout out to So my first wife's husband's parents are phenomenal to my kids and treat them like their own.
Wow. Yeah.
And to me, like, it is such a blessing to see them do that. And like, it would be just an honor to find somebody whose parents would do that essentially to my kids. And I feel confident that my parents would do that to their kids if that, was a thing. So.
I look at what you're talking about, and for even the core of what you have gone through to get to where you are, there has to be a really solid commitment for forgiveness.
Oh, yeah.
Because without forgiveness, the resentment, revenge seeking, the hate, all of those nasty things stay in you that color your world. So, step us through that forgiveness process a little bit.
For sure.
Of like how you actually internalized that and then made it real.
Yeah, I think this past marriage I went through was very it was very rough, and there was just a lot of I had to go find my truth, and I had to find truth, and I really feel like in that failed second marriage was me finding myself, and I had to go back to the rock, to the cornerstone, to Christ, and what was said, and I kept leaning into the fruits of the Spirit. And those attitudes there are all anti-cultural, right? Like love is an emotion, right? No, it's a choice. Joy is a choice. And so all of these things, self-control and gentleness and kindness, they're all choices that have to be made. They don't come naturally. And forgiveness is one of those things as well, right? Like forgiveness is an aspect that it has to be chosen. We don't always feel that way. And you have to dive into it because it's what's best, And God forbid, again, like God judges me the way I judge somebody else. I definitely will need and want that margin in my life because, it's very vulnerable to sit here and say, Russell's been married twice. It's definitely a huge scar that I wear. So I've got plenty of fails and blame to be made on myself. So I guess the point is there's not enough room in life to just hold on to that. There's so much peace found in just letting it go. And you got to pick your battles, especially in a co-parenting relationship.
Yeah. Well, I want to circle into the idea of too, so you forgive, but like a listener out there could say, okay, he's been divorced twice. My question, and I'm going to just be respectful in saying this, what is it about you that you are in this situation? In other words, whatever it is that you have to fix about you might not be what another person out there listening, but the idea that you go through a process of working on yourself. Well, I mean, when you think about yourself, what were some things that you found yourself maybe getting into a place you shouldn't get to?
Well, I think that was the shift for me was doing the non-negotiables like we talked about, and then I just kind of had a moment where I was like who do I want to be, right? Yeah. And then even like our group kind of did this Andy Stanley Bible study on dating, and part of that was like, and I'm going to butcher it, but basically just like be yourself, be pursuing Christ, and let the rest kind of fall into place in a sense. And so that was kind of a big shift. Like the initial focus was like, who do I want my partner to be? And then it was like, all right, well, who do I want to be? And so like that was like I took a step back. I kind of rewrote my non-negotiables that day, and then I wrote down like, all right, who do I want to be? And I wrote my non-negotiables for who I want to be as a husband, as a dad, as just a man in general.
Man, that's just huge. I'm serious. Like that's huge because what you said from the beginning, we always think about who I want her to be. Right. And I'm not saying that shouldn't be part of our thought. I want my partner to be of a certain type or person or faith or whatever. But I don't even know who I am, right? And if I don't know who I am, then I can get washed in any different direction. And so identifying who we are as men, our shortcomings, our strengths, but identifying that. If you don't identify that, then you will take whatever is a fleshly pleasing desire.
Which I think it goes, we talk about all the time, like, man, how easy is it to look at your neighbor's house that's on fire and be like, they should do this, this, and this, and all the while your house is on fire, right? And it's like, I got to fix what's going on with me before I can go over and address that problem. And I think that's what I'm hearing from you, that you had to take that time, those non-negotiables. And the question I wanted to ask, like, those non-negotiables, those things that you had talked about, those absolutes, did you establish those before your second marriage, or was that something that?
Oh no, not at all. It was definitely after.
That was after. Okay,
Yeah.
I wanted to get clarification because I wasn't sure if I was hearing that correctly. So that's something that you have kind of come up with since your second marriage.
Right. Yeah, it was something, like I said, our divorce care, we had a smaller subset of people
Okay.
that kind of started meeting, and it came up one night, and we all just kind of sat around really loosely that night and started it, and it's kind of evolved since then.
Sure.
So, yeah.
And is
it's
that
definitely
that divorce care that you're in, that's a ministry, are you still involved? Are you still?
Yeah, I mean, we still do hangouts and that kind of a thing, and
Okay.
we chat a bit, so.
And do you find that constant care, that constant accountability to be beneficial in the sense of, like, it's helping you grow and develop to the man you are today? Like, you feel like that is getting to where you're at?
Yes, I mean, so like I've slowed down, and like we've done a couple studies. Like I did the main divorce care. We've done a couple one-off studies.
Okay.
And then a big thing now is just getting involved in the men's groups. I think so. Doing Strong Dads has been amazing.
Don't give them too much credit, though.
Fair enough.
It's the group. It's all me.
It's all Frank. It's not really.
That's right. It's Frank.
And then I do a men's group every other Tuesday down at Oasis with a really good friend and mentor.
That's awesome.
So I mean, those guys. I mean, it's kind of like finding those Pauls in your life of people that you want to be like, putting yourself around that and trying. And there's definitely a ton of failure that comes, and it is kind of like humbling or whatever, being even just sitting here, because I'm like, who am I to be like doing this? Because like there's definitely so much work still yet to be done, and
Well, when somebody climbs a mountain, I want to, and I'm thinking about climbing the mountain, I want to talk to the guy who climbed it last, not the guy who wants to write a book about how he thinks he should do it, know. And so, we talk about this like with drug addiction, counseling and stuff like that. It is so much more beneficial for somebody who's been through it, because the stories and the learning are so much more real and authentic versus what I think from my chair. It doesn't mean I can't be of value, but at the end of the day, like, I don't quite know that pain or that wound.
Right.
So I do have a question for you, like in terms of how do you measure your strength? So I can see, you're working through identifying yourself and what you're looking for, but you get tested, right? Like you get you're not with your kids a lot. There's a whole lot of time that you're in your house by yourself, right? You attend maybe a divorce care group, and there's an attractive lady there. There's an attractive lady there that maybe you just kind of have a little bit of fun conversation or you hit it off. So what goes through your mind now?
I don't know. I mean, it's the non-negotiables aspect work. I mean, I definitely, I'm not going to compromise on those things, right? Yeah. And so, I mean, I don't know how to answer that. I mean, it's
well,
it's
I mean,
a good question.
I can say, like I've been dieting for the last 6 months, but I show up and there's nothing but dessert table sitting around me. And I'm like, oh man, this is my craving. And when you sit in your house by yourself, or you feel that loneliness and that lack of companionship, and all of a sudden we find somebody that we go, man, that just feels good. Keeping that under control, or recognizing it maybe, like, okay, how do I deal with this? Because I don't want to just get sucked into the feel-good feeling.
Right.
Yeah. So that is something that has to be on your mind.
It definitely is. I mean, I think it's, like, I don't want to bring anybody home that, like, my parents wouldn't find, like, a part of our family that my kids couldn't be around, and that kind of a thing. And, like, again, like, I think it's floating through those non-negotiables. So, I mean, I don't know. It's...
Well, and I think I'm hearing, like, that's part of that healing process. That's part of the process of getting to where you're at now is having, you're still going to fail, right? As men of faith, regardless if you love Jesus or not, you're going to fail, right? And you're going to have those times where, that table of sweets looks really good, and then you have to, like, maybe you do, like, go grab one cupcake, and then it's like, wait a second, I've been here before, right? And it's that healing process, and getting to the point where you're like, all right, these are my non-negotiables, the things I'm not going to let go of.
Yeah, that's the
I'm going to hold on.
stick.
Exactly, just like you were saying. I think it plays right into that whole healing process, because it's just like you're saying, those scars that you have, things lean into those, and it reminds you of those things. You're like, all right, I have to do this a little different this time.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think that's definitely a huge factor, is just learning from your mistakes and what got you to where you are. I think the big thing about strengths is like knowing that even with a strength, there's always a weakness attached to it, and vice versa with a weakness, there's a strength attached to it. And so doing a lot of the Briggs-Myers and Enneagram stuff, like learning, like I've been called a people pleaser in a very negative, slangy kind of a way, and there's definitely a bad part of being a people pleaser, but there's a great part of being a people pleaser, because there's a lot of empathy involved, and you can help heal people, and like I love that aspect of it, and I just have to balance that aspect and learn myself in that.
So some time back, you and I were talking, and you questioned me. Actually, I think it was more my wife, Linda, and I just want to bring this up, okay? I think maybe she may have said, or she quoted something from maybe divorce care literature or something, but it takes about 3 years for somebody to be gone through a divorce and then prepared or ready to marry again. And we met, and you were like, 3 years? Like 3 years? And we started to talk about that, like, well, what does that really mean? And it really... it was funny because I think I dismissed it like, well, no, it's not like 3 years. It's more like, when are you healed?
Right.
And we started walking through like the healing process. And when you go through and you talk about all of the things that you have tried to heal and are continuing to heal through, it takes about 3 years. It's like, so not getting hooked on, well, at the 3-year mark, I will be ready. No, it might take you 10 years.
Right.
It just depends on how well you did your wound management, how well you took care of yourself, and you recognize the things that we're talking about here today. If you are still finding yourself angry, resentful, blaming, if you are still in that, strong dads out there, if you're listening and you're in a divorce setting and you are still into that mode of thinking, you're not ready to be in another relationship. You're just not. And because you've got too much ugly already in you, and you're going to bring somebody else into that, and it's going to contaminate that next relationship.
Right. Yeah, I think, that was, again, like going into like the Andy Stanley aspect of, it was like if you ran into somebody you had dated in Walmart, would you run and hide, or would you be like, hey, like if you're with your wife at the time, like, I dated this person and they're an awesome person, right?
Yeah.
And so I think the point is like, could you face that person? Like, are you living a way that you want to live? And like leaving people better than you found them, just in general. That's like a good general rule in life, and that's definitely something that I try to do. And then I've been reading, or at least working my way through Ron Deal's The Single Parent Dating, and there's a lot of really good stuff in there on dating and just knowing if you're ready, and then giving yourself permission to not know something until it happens at times, And I think that's a big one. I think we tend to beat ourselves up, or we run off and hide, or whatever. Like, we talk through emotions at Strong Dads, and sometimes you don't know what's going to happen until it happens, and like, so giving yourself permission to just learn how to manage it. And I don't know, like I think again, like wounds are always there, like the memories and all that stuff is there. It's not like a wound gets healed and you just forget. Like it's always going to be there, and I think it's learning how to manage that. So with healthy boundaries, is huge. And I know, like through the last couple years, like learning boundaries, like I always knew about boundaries. Like I said, I went to Bible college and we read Boundaries, the book. And it wasn't until this past year that all of that really started to click and to fall into play, of like making sure that I control myself, and then making sure that I don't allow somebody else to dictate how I'm going to respond, and giving myself margin when needed to do those things in a healthy manner.
Yeah, that's a great thing. I'm sitting here thinking as you're talking, like, it's up to us to decide whether we're going to take our wounds and turn them into wisdom, or whether we're going to turn them into more wreckage.
Yeah.
It's up to us to make that decision. What am I going to do with this wound? Hey, I got this bad wound on my arm. Well, next time I'm not going to do this or this or this, or I'm going to do it differently so I don't put my arm in that situation. And so we really do have a say in how we move forward.
Yeah.
So what's the time frame now? So your second divorce. You went through the second divorce. How past are we from that currently?
Well, the separation happened a little over a year ago.
Okay.
So at the beginning of last year was when the separation happened, and then it was just kind of a process of actually going through the legal route of getting divorced.
Sure.
So yeah, it's been about a year and a half from separation.
Okay.
When everything kind of happened. So.
Yeah, and I invited Russell on the show because you're not where you were. You're probably not quite where you want to be.
No.
Right? But I think his story and sharing the walk through it is really an important story. And so I just want to thank you for giving us that insight and being vulnerable like this, just because, nobody really needs to know everybody's dirty laundry, right?
Right.
But you kept it very respectful. And, I have to say that I've worked with you through these situations. And whether other people believe it or not, I've never heard you bash either of your ex-wives. You've always talked respectfully, and I just have to give you kudos to that, because there were times when I wanted to talk bad, and just your calm demeanor of, no, I want to do things the right way, just is very reassuring. So I just want to thank you for that. That teaches us all a lot. So, in wrapping up, what are some things that
we gotta get a good takeaway for our dads out there?
What's a good
We
takeaway
need a good
for
takeaway,
a single dad or a divorced dad who's trying to get it together?
Yeah, I think it's, just dive into who you want to be and take that time to study. It's so easy, I think, especially with COVID happening, and there's times you're just at home, but figuring out who you want to be and the steps that you need to get to there, and then just kind of checking back in and making sure that you're always, resetting and going back, because it's so easy to drift. It's so easy to become unintentional. And I to this day, there's still things that I do that I'm like, oh, this isn't what I want to be. Just sitting around watching TV, and my kids, I should be more engaged with my kids, or I should be studying for something with work, or I should be reading instead of watching Netflix. And so there's 1,000 things that I have to constantly check, and then just giving yourself permission to fail, I guess, a little bit is okay, because there's that shame circle of falling back in. But I think it's just trying to every day is a new day to start. It's like working out, right? If you keep putting it off till Monday, it's never gonna happen.
I'm starting Monday.
That was a bad example for. He's got Mondays stacked out for centuries.
I'm starting tomorrow.
So I think it's just being intentional and finding that purpose of who you want to be, and what you can always reinvent yourself, and you can always figure out who that person is. I think you have to learn who the core of who you are as a person. God made us a specific way. I have a personality that I can't change, but there are things about me that I can change. And I don't want to change my personality and be somebody that I'm not, but I also want to strive to be a better person.
Yeah, that's great stuff. Well, again, we just want to thank Russell for joining us here on Strong Dads. Your insight and your willingness to share your walk right here is good. Any of you strong dads out there, or even our ladies that are listening to this, if you are in a situation like this, or know of a man that's in a situation like this, please don't let your mind go sideways in a bad way on these things. There's a way to get help. Please reach out to Rock Solid Families. You can check us out on our website, rocksolidfamilies.org. You can call us at 812-576-7625. But don't let yourself get stuck in the vision that the world has of the divorce and just messing it up. I always say when I'm working with couples, especially on the parenting realm, you may be divorced, but you're married for life if you have children. If you have children, the two became one, and that one is the result of what relationship you had. And so everybody wins when the parents of that child can come together for the sake of that child.
Yeah, I think you just said it there, and it definitely hit home. I feel like the culture has this predetermined criteria of what a divorced couple looks like, and they hate each other. And it doesn't need to be that way. It shouldn't be that way. You know? And I think regardless, I can only control my side of it, and I can live the life I want to live, and treat my ex's, my kid's mom, the way I want to be treated, and the way I think she deserves to be treated, and the way you're still setting that model and example for future relationships as well.
So good, man. We talk all the time on this show about seeking wisdom, and man, if you guys are out there, you are going through divorce, just like you're saying, Merle, gone through. Man, I think, Russell, you have a lot of wisdom that you can speak into the lives of other dads that are going through similar situations, as messy as those situations can be. Man, if you guys want to hear wisdom, I think what you're talking, it really came through, at least to me. Man, I've never gone through divorce, But I got something from this show, and I hope you guys out there did too. Continue to show, to share this show. Just like you're saying, Merle, reach out, man. Seek that wisdom, seek that counsel from other guys who have gone through it. Seek wisdom from people who can speak truth to you, not feed into what society tells you, and not feed into that mess of bashing your spouse. Man, take the higher road. Be the bigger man. Don't put yourself in a situation where that's even going to be a possibility. Flee from those situations. If you're sitting at work, I know we do it all the time at work. We'll sit around the kitchen table, and guys, we'll talk about everything. Man, if you're in a situation where guys are doing that, and they're telling you should tell your wife off and tell her to, man, that's not what you should be seeking. You should be seeking that wise counsel from men who are going to speak truth. Again, not telling you things you want to hear, telling you things that you need to hear.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so we just want to thank all you guys. If you like what you hear, give us a 5-star rating, subscribe to our shows, share our shows. These are the methods that we need you to help us with. So we want to thank you guys for that. You want to thank our sponsors?
Absolutely. Casey's Outdoor Solutions, Crimer's Beer House, thanks so much for coming alongside of us. We greatly do appreciate it. So it allows us to keep putting these messages out there. So thanks so much for you guys. Definitely check those out.
All right. So go out there and be a strong dad.
I'd like to welcome Casey's Outdoor Solutions as a new sponsor to our podcast. Casey's is a premier garden center and gift shop located in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Casey's offers a wide selection of plants, landscaping materials, home and garden decor, and gifts for every occasion. Casey's is committed to providing exceptional service, a unique shopping experience, and value to every customer. Stop in and see what makes Casey's so unique. Located at 21481 State Line Road, Lawrenceburg, Indiana, or call 812-537-3800. Let Casey's help you add beauty to your home. Let's go start a business. Like maybe we
could do an IT business. I'm really good at that, Merle.
Oh, you're great at IT work. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that'll last about a day. So, yeah.